I've been from 20 to 10% body fat without tracking calories or implementing some weird insulin sensitivity trick. I've coached heaps of guys who, like you, were skinny fat and managed to get down to a lean 10 to 15% body fat. And I'm telling you right now, the biggest mistake that you are making, like I did and like my clients did, was you are overcomplicating the process way too much. Because I know you want to drop the fat. And so you're looking at all of this content. It's telling you to implement this one insulin sensitivity trick to trick your body into dropping body fat fast. You're looking into fasting. You're looking into intermittent fasting. You're looking at how to track calories and how many carbs should you eat, how many fat, protein. When you have so much advice coming at you all at once, you just have no idea how to implement it all so that you can actually see results. And when you have so much information, it overwhelms you. You have information overload. And what ends up happening is you don't stick to doing anything because you just find it way too hard. So you need to make it sustainable for you. And the easiest way you can make something sustainable is for it to be simple and not complex. And I'm telling you, my method and the methods I use with my clients are brain dead to drop body fat. You do not have to stress yourself out over meticulous tracking of calories, intermittent fasting, or insulin sensitivity. While those things might have validity to them, I just think it's so unnecessary to actually get lean. I used to track my calories. When I was first starting out, I was so desperate to drop my belly fat that I was willing to do whatever possible. So I experimented with getting on MyFitnessPal, typing in all my calories, typing in all my macros. But what I found was that it just made the process so overly complex because every time I would want to eat, I needed to make sure that the food that I was eating was tracked to the gram in the MyFitnessPal app. And what ended up always happening was I'd want to eat a certain food and then log it, but then that food wasn't in MyFitnessPal. And so I was stuck at a crossroads. I was like, what do I even do now? Like I can't even track it accurately. And so I would then just give up on tracking calories altogether, which meant that I would then eat whatever I wanted. So I would stay stuck, not losing that belly fat because I made the process way too complicated. And as I said, all of these methods to dropping fat, I'm sure that they have validity to them. And if they work for you, then be my guest, use them. What works for you, works for you. But what I think so many guys get stuck on is they cannot stick to these things because it's just too much coming at them. So there's 3 key things that you need to know when it comes to dropping body fat. And these 3 things are grounded in simplicity so that they are sustainable for you over the long term and that you can actually stay consistent with. The first thing is that you eat natural. So what that means is every time you see a type of food, you need to make an assessment over whether that food is naturally occurring or not. You need to question types of food and think, how did this food come into existence? How did it come to be? You can look at lots of types of foods and determine this question. So for some things, it's very obvious. If you look at meat, like chicken or beef, you think, yeah, well, that's obviously come from a chicken, or it's obviously come from a cow. But there are things that are a bit more gray, that are a bit more ambiguous. So things like bread. You might look at bread and think, yeah, that's like natural. It's like wheat, flour, salt, yeast. Like that's pretty standard. But what you're missing is that bread these days is actually very heavily processed and has way more ingredients that go into it than you might otherwise think. Breads that you find at the supermarket. So for example, in Australia, there's like Tip Top bread and Wonder White. These breads have things like canola oil in them. And if you look at the ingredients, you'll be like, whoa, what is half of this stuff? So I don't eat breads because most of the time they're garbage. And when you are consuming these processed foods, they are naturally higher in calories. They're going to keep you less full so that in the future, you're going to feel hungrier and then therefore eat more calories. They're also bad for your hormones and testosterone production, meaning you're going to feel less energy. And so therefore will tend to not move as much and burn as many calories as you otherwise would if you had higher energy. So what you need to do is the complete opposite and eat natural foods, because these foods are the complete opposite of processed foods. They're lower in calorie. They're going to keep you fuller for longer, and they're going to give you more energy, meaning you're burning more calories. And when you eat naturally, then you naturally arrive at calorie deficits without all the mental bandwidth that you would otherwise have to spend on tracking calories or doing any of that intermittent fasting kind of thing. The second thing is reducing your portion sizes. What I don't want you to do is make drastic changes to how you're eating based off what someone tells you, including myself, because again, it all comes to sustainability. If you are making huge changes to what you eat overnight, then you're not going to stick to it because it's just such a big change that it feels unachievable for you. So if you're eating a Subway footlong for lunch every day, like I used to do with the Italian herbs and cheese, the cheddar, the chicken schnitzel, or the chipotle sauce, and then you want to switch to eating chicken salads, chicken breast, and this ultra clean foods all of a sudden, it's just such a big, drastic change that you might not find it achievable, and therefore you're not actually going to stick to it. Instead, what you can do is change your Subway footlong to a 6-inch Subway. Or you could forego the sauce that you have or the cheese that you normally get in your Subway. This way, you're reducing the amount of calories that are in the Subway, but it's not such a huge change that you wouldn't be able to stick to it for a long amount of time. Because a lot of guys will get caught up in chasing perfection over progress. And when you chase perfection, nothing ever happens. Because if you are wanting to optimize every single detail of your diet, you simply just cannot do it. And it becomes this huge, unattainable goal that you will inevitably give up on because you can't achieve it. So instead, what you need to do is just focus on making small changes over time, taking baby steps to reduce calories and to eat cleaner, natural foods over time. That way, when you prioritize progress over perfection, then you will see tangible results, and that positive feedback that you get will lead to you making even further and further changes with your diet to the point where you actually have a very structured, locked in, clean, natural diet. The third thing is you need to train in the gym. What a lot of guys overlook, I think, is the importance of building muscle when it comes to attaining an aesthetic physique. Because aesthetics is not just dropping body fat. You need to have the muscle mass that goes along with the low body fat percentage. And a lot of guys train in the gym, but I think number one, they have no idea what they're doing, or number two, they're not training hard enough. And the guys that don't know what they're doing have no structure and no program to the way that they train. They might rock up to the gym and have no idea what to train and then think to themselves, yeah, I haven't hit chest in a while, so maybe I'll just do that. And then they'll do chest and then they won't hit chest for another 13 days because they forgot about it. You need to have a routine. You need to have a schedule so that before you rock up to the gym every time, you know what you're doing. Because if you're always just picking random things to train, then you're simply not going to make any progress. The other problem that a lot of guys run into, and what I've seen, is that you might be consistent, but you're just not training hard enough. So every time you step into the gym, you're being unintentional with your workouts. You're not trying to beat the number of reps you did last week on some exercises, or you're not trying to increase the weight that you did from last week. And I think the even bigger problem is that most guys can't even remember what they did the week prior because they're not tracking it. So when you rock up to the gym every time, you're just guessing as to what you did last time. If you did 13 reps on lat pull down last back session, chances are when you come to hit back again 5 days later, you've forgotten that number. So inevitably you're going to be unintentional because you have no goal, no target to beat because you can't even remember what you did. And a quick fix to that is to download the app Strong. You can just track all your workouts, reps, sets included. And so when you do your next workout, it's got it all there logged so you can know what to beat. So if you are a guy that is just rocking up to the gym, not even knowing what he's going to hit on that certain day, then you need a program. You need a routine in place. And if you're looking for a complete structure as to how to do that, you can check out the Skinny Fat Solution program. That's the link in the description below. And I've got all the training and workout plans dependent on how many days you want to go into the gym, all set out there. With training hard enough, you need to be training to failure on most, if not all, of the sets you're doing. What that means is you can no longer perform a rep of the exercise with good form, even if you tried your absolute hardest. And that is a very mentally difficult thing to do. It takes a lot of mental willpower to actually go through that process of reaching failure. Because yes, it is painful. It's not complex, but it is a hard thing to do. And I think that you should have some level of anxiety before you do each set. You should feel somewhat scared because you know the pain that is about to come. It is painful. And if you don't feel that anxiety or fear before doing a set, it doesn't have to be huge, but just some level of discomfort, then chances are you're not actually pushing to failure or as hard as you actually could, because there is pain that goes with training hard in the gym. And inevitably, you're going to have that bit of butterfly or fearful feeling before you do the set. What I do with my clients is I take them through personal training sessions and I watch them in the gym to make sure that they actually push to failure. Because most of the time when they train by themselves, they will leave a few reps in the tank and they won't go all out. And I'm telling you, that is the biggest mistake, not only for building muscle, but also for getting lean. And if you're in Melbourne, I'm taking on personal training clients. So if you're interested in that, send me a DM on Instagram and we can sort something out. But if you want to go solo, or if you're not in Melbourne, then you can also check out the Skinny Fat Solution program that I have linked in the description below, which takes you through everything you need to know when it comes to diet, when it comes to training, when it comes to mindset, and all of the other small aspects associated with going through the transformation from skinny fat to muscular and lean. And that's over 5 hours worth of content, all packaged in that program. So if you learned anything from this video, please consider subscribing as well. We're getting to 20K subs soon, and you can check out this video to keep on learning.